Good morning. This week's devotion is What Are You Doing Here? This week I'm preaching on Jesus and Peter walking on the water. But I really love the Old Testament story for this week about Elijah too. So listen to 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 9 through 13. At that place he came to a cave and spent the night there. Then the word of the Lord came to him, saying, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He answered, "I have been very zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I alone am left, and they are seeking my life to take it away." He said, "Go out and stand on the mountain before the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." Now there was a great wind, so strong that it was splitting mountains and breaking rocks into pieces before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a sound of sheer silence. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. Then there came a voice to him that said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" Elijah was having a really bad time. The altars to God had been torn down. The other faithful prophets had been murdered. Elijah thought he would be next. He had reason to be scared. He had reason to be depressed. Who would blame him for giving up? But God never left him. God had called Elijah to be a prophet. God was still there with him in the worst times of his life. So God asks him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" And God listens to all of his woes and listens to all of his complaints, even though God knew what had happened already. God knew that Elijah felt alone, so God was going to bless him with proof that God was still there. Elijah's life had been so chaotic, he felt alone in the storm. So even though in the past God had come to people in fire and wind, Elijah couldn't hear God there. Elijah's world was so loud that what he needed was the quiet. God came to him in silence, and once again he asked, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" Then God called him again and sent him back out. Are there ever times when you feel the world is just crumbling around you? Do you ever feel that you are all alone? Whenever I see the news headlines, I wonder if anyone who loves God is left in the world. There is injustice and violence and hatred and prejudice and war and racism and sexism and a whole lot of slew of other isms. The world is literally burning right now. The map of active fires covers the whole globe. Life can be overwhelming. Faith and discipleship can seem overwhelming. How can we do anything about the horror that is going on in our world right now? How can we make a difference? Sometimes I have trouble hearing God over the cruelty and sin and injustice that is everywhere in our world. Sometimes I need to find some silence away from the news, away from the world. I need to read God's word. I need to prayer journal. I need to listen for God in the silence. It's in the quiet that I can be reassured that God is still there in the midst of the chaos. It is in my quiet prayer time that I can once again hear God's call to go. If you're having trouble seeing God in the chaos of the world, if you're having trouble hearing God's voice through the earthquake, wind, and fire, then maybe you need to carve out some quiet time. It's much easier to hear God's voice when God isn't competing with all the noise of the world. Take time to listen for God in silence, and have a blessed
week.